All right, all right, all right. And we are live. Yo, yo, yo. Tell me what you know. Welcome to the Sunshine Show. Woo! You guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, pigs, dogs, everybody watching at home. We do not judge here on the Sunshine Show. I have such a special treat for you tonight, this afternoon, this evening, wherever in the world you may roam. I have the one and only, the most phenomenal, the most fabulous, the most fantastic, a man of many calibers, a man who has worked with so many musicians. You guys are going to be blown away. Musicians from the likes of The Meters, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic, Fishbone, Red Hot Chili Peppers, 311, Jane's Addiction, Suicidal Tendencies, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a wild ride tonight. Bass collector, art collector, everything in between. We have John Heintz of the Big Old Nasty Getdown in the house. What's up, John?
Hey, Sunshine. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. For the very few people watching at home, listening on the podcast, who may not know who you are, who may have been living under a rock for the past 12 years, please give us a brief introduction.
Well, I've been in the industry for about 15 years now. I wound up kind of coming in out of the blue. I came in at 30 years old, which in a lot of ways is almost like saying you want to be an Olympic gymnast at 30 when when it feels like so many of the people that are out there doing the thing are, you know, seasoned musicians by 30. So I came in kind of in a unique way and just found a way to plant some roots, and I've been doing it ever since. It's been quite a journey. I've had a chance to work with some of my favorite musicians that I grew up listening to, and you know, mix and match different players in different settings, and create some really unique stuff under the umbrella called the Big Old Nasty Getdown. The Getdown is a music collaborative that's probably about 250 or so musicians deep, and they come from roughly 180 different bands, ranging from, like you said, from the Meters to the Chili Peppers and everything in between. So it's been a real treat to be able to have so many wonderful people to work with.
Wow. And not only do you produce amazing music with amazing musicians, but you also are quite the bass collector. And I'm so stoked and excited to talk to you about your collection of basses, because my goodness, John, I am a dear friend of yours. And I must say, the last time I visited your house, you had at least half of what you have now. Do you have like, what, 500 basses now?
It's a little out of control. I think I'm getting close to 100. Maybe actually probably a little over 100 at this point. And if everything goes as I hope, later this evening after the interview, there may be 2 more coming. So
of course. I love to joke with John and say it's Christmas every day of the week at Mr. John Heintz' house. Do you have a favorite bass that you've collected?
You know, there's a lot of basses that are special for different reasons. If you want, we can. I've got some of the basses out. We could go right into some of that, and I can share some of the stories behind a couple of them. You know, and then we can talk about the project a little bit. But
yeah, let's start with the bass talk, John Heintz. That's what we're all here for. We want to see your collection.
Let's see. So I've got a signature model with a company called Monobasso. Tony Walters is the builder. I believe he's been on your show before. He is an unbelievably gifted builder. This is the latest one that we just finished up. It's a fretless hollow body. This one's called Poly Walnuts. It's got some interesting features on it. So when Tony and I first started talking about building a bass for me, we bounced around a few different ideas, and I had wanted to do a bass that had shooting stars, that had LEDs in the sound chambers, and be able to have it light up and do all kinds of weird shit on stage. And we eventually kind of came to the decision that hot rod flames might be better because I've got those going up my wrists, and so this is one of the crazy things that this one does. It changes colors and does all kinds of fun stuff.
Wait, could you please demo that one more time for us, Mr. John Heintz, of the big old nasty Get Down?
So they're just getting weirder and weirder by the moment with what we're putting in the sound chambers. Because the first one that we did, that was a red light that was in it, and that one was really cool. And then we did another one that one's somewhere back there that has a purple light in it. So that's, you know, one of the kind of unique things that we've done with those basses.
But what was your thought process behind that particular build?
Well, I love the design that Tony had that was already existing. Lige Curry from Parliament Funkadelic has a signature model of Tony that's built on a similar body style. So we talked about it, and Tony made some slight adjustments to be able to make it unique for my signature model. And so we just talked through the whole process of the different woods that we'd be using and kind of my hopes for the visual aesthetics, as well as, you know, bouncing and brainstorming some ideas about what kind of electronics and different things that we were gonna put in it. And so initially it started with the red one, and I absolutely loved that one. And what happens is he shows me these different samples of different tops for the basses, and I'll see them and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta have him build another one because I gotta have that top on it. And so I saw this burled maple top. Let me actually grab that bass. Try to do that without knocking over everything.
You are surrounded, sir.
I brought a couple basses out to share with y'all. Figured we might get into it this time. This is the Purple Flame. And it's got the burl maple and the purple flames going on. And yeah, so that one's a really so to get back to your question, what are my favorites? Those obviously have a lot of meaning to me because of the process of going through that with Tony, where you see it from just a piece of lumber to this magnificent instrument that, you know, you can play every night and please crowds with. So it's a pretty cool thing. There's another company that I work really heavily with called Strati out of Poland.
Whoa, John, for the people that are listening at home and can't see this beautiful bass, how would you describe it?
Well, it's so Merrick and Aga, who are the builders at Strati. Merrick, he's a violin builder by trade. And so he's incorporated a lot of the theory behind the cello and the violins in his builds with the different tops and the acoustic chambers and whatnot. It's really a spectacular bass. I'm trying to get used to like everything being in reverse. Every time I move something to the right, it moves to the left. So bear with me. And I've got a few of these. Actually, there's two of them that are going to be here tomorrow that are just stunners. Yeah, it's always great to be able to look over and see one of these sitting over in the living room.
And how would you describe the tone on that particular bass?
It's very rich and deep. I don't have an amp plugged in, but so it's got a really, really nice acoustic characteristic. And then let's see. This one right here is a crazy one. So during the first big old nasty Get Down session, George Clinton invited us into the studio to finish up our album. He was a big part of the project in the early days. And so one night he painted my bass or one of my basses, and this is the madness that came out of that night.
Oh my goshness. I feel like I need to take myself off the screen because I want you to give us like the full story with the full shot of this bass guitar. And now the floor is yours, John.
Oh, okay. So one night we're sitting down at George's studio in Tallahassee, and one of the interesting things about his studio is there's a art gallery that's adjacent to the live room in the studio. It's all the same building that he owns, and so George would be back there painting and working on all kinds of stuff while we were doing the tracking for the album. So when we went into the studio for the first time, there was like 25 of us. It was like a crazy party. There's a bunch of the P-Funk members, a lot of the OG members, and then a bunch of cats that we were bringing down from Asheville, North Carolina, and some players from New Orleans. And so we'd all be doing our thing, and George would kind of come in and out of the room and check on what we were doing. But for the most part, he'd be back there painting and all that. And so I was seeing my wildest dream come true, and I was just blown away by, it was sensory overload by the sights and the sounds, hearing the music happening and seeing George paint and seeing all of his art all over the place. Actually, the painting over there and the painting over there are both George's, and that and they were pieces that I saw while the whole project was coming together. And so it had a very, very huge impact on me. And it just so happened I had a bass with me down there, this one that didn't have any pickups. And I'm not sure why I brought a bass that had no pickups to a recording session, but somehow it made it with us. And we got chatting. I said, would you paint the bass for me? Gary Scheider, Star Child, who's no longer with us, he was down. He's like, yeah, come on, George, paint the bass for the kid. And so next thing you know, we're all sitting around, and George is painting my bass, and here it is, all these years later.
Wow, working with George Clinton, the one, the only Parliament Funkadelic, holds a very special place in my heart. I used to always take my son to P-Funk shows back when we lived in Austin. Every year, that was like our ritual. And just the stage show that they put on it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So hats off to you for hooking up with George. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I basically got raised by P-Funk because when we did the project and it was all said and done, I was the only one that didn't have a band to go back to. I had this idea for this project to bring in. So, okay, the Big Old Nasty Getdown, we kind of discussed it a little bit. It's basically a collaborative effort that I'm handpicking all of my favorite musicians from my favorite bands, and we're putting them in different either live or recording situations, and creating stuff on the fly. And when we did the first album, we flew in. It was like there's 35 musicians from 20 bands. We were down in New Orleans, and we stayed in this mansion that had been provided for us, and we basically wrote most of the album through the house parties that were happening at night. And so it was, and then we would take it to the studio the next day and record what we were doing that night. But also we had another group of musicians that were in a rehearsal spot next to the studio working on more new material. So it was almost becoming like a weird assembly line, but it wasn't being compromised. It was totally organic, and it was totally just moving, and it got to be to the point where I think the last song that we recorded, which is the first song on volume 1, we went in and we wrote and recorded it in less than 45 minutes. And so that was the kind of flow that was happening. But during that time, Gary Scheider and Belita Woods from P-Funk were both at that gathering, and when they found out that I didn't have a band to go back to, that this was the project, that you know, this kind of faceless thing that was going to be morphing and changing, Gary was like, well, come on with us. And took me out and showed me the ropes with P-Funk. You know, I was out on the road with them on and off for a number of years. Really not so much as a musician, but more as a person taken in how to run and operate a giant band, and being able to learn what it was going to take to be able to put this project into a live situation. And, you know, I was lucky enough to get up and, you know, be able to do some auxiliary percussion here and there, and George didn't throw me off stage or anything. So, you know, it was a lot of fun. Gary really took he really cared a lot about me and the project, and gave me a lot of opportunities. You know, he was like, come with us, find your place, just don't get in the way. And that's how that all kind of came about with the P-Funk thing. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was some of the craziest yet mind-blowing, amazing times of my life, seeing that, and also getting a chance to know these players who are no longer with us, that just had so much history and had done so much for shaping music as we know it today. These people that hadn't necessarily gotten the kind of recognition they should have had, or credits they should have had for their contributions, but you know, they were just, yeah, it was incredible. So
All right. All
forever
right,
grateful.
guys. You know what, John? I forgot to give you the wham bam intro. I forgot. Are you ready to get this party started? I did not ask you that, John. I did not ask you.
I think wait. Hang on. Do you mind if I crack open an adult beverage for this?
Like a coffee?
No, an Ensure Protein Max.
Are you ready to get this party started, Mr. John Heintz? The big old nasty. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Let's check out this.
I'm ready to get this shit going.
Let's check out this chat. We got James Gooding, we got Andy Silverberg, we got Steve Keller, Daniel Bayanez, we got my beautiful secretary, Don McDaniel. I could not do it without you. We got Mike Torn of Bass Players United in the group all the way from Canada. What's up, Mike? We got Jordan Branch from Redding, California. We got Edgar Oliveras. We got Sandy Cantu, Mama Cantu, all the way from South Texas in the house. We got the whole fam bam, Dave Woodward, Brian Paul. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us. Stephen B in the house. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions for your host, Sonny C, or the one and only John Heintz, the big old nasty get down, make sure to drop them there in the comment section, and I will get to them as soon as possible. All right, let's check out this comment here, Mr. Heintz. Brian Paul says your house is a museum full of art and musical instruments. Let's talk a little bit about this. Do you have a museum of art and musical instruments over there?
I mean, it's definitely a curated situation in here. I'm very I don't know how to describe it. I like what I like, and a lot of it's very artsy kind of things. I'm a collector, so I enjoy the hunt for different different basses and different whatevers I'm collecting. So yeah, maybe it has turned into a little bit of a museum around here.
Well, and you're also a bass player, so that automatically makes you weird.
Absolutely, yeah. It's it's one of my great qualities, you know, being weird. It's
Okay, you said it, not me. All right, I want to talk about some of the amazing bassists that you've worked with. I know you do a lot of tracking at your home studio. Let's talk about some of the bass players you're working with currently.
Well, Ellen, of course. I'm so excited. There's a great bassist named Izzy Savitas who lives in Detroit. She's an 18-year-old prodigy that's unbelievable. She plays a 6-string and is fearless on it.
I actually follow her on Instagram and have been a huge fan for quite a while now.
That's excellent. Yeah, she's awesome. She's she's really going to make a mark in the industry, especially at the rate she's going, because she's only been playing bass for I think 3 years now.
Wow.
And is just yeah, just unbelievably gifted. This week I was doing some tracks with Bubby Lewis. Bubby's an amazing bassist. He played with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Remco Hendricks from the Netherlands. He's a monster player as well. We've been working on some tracks. Hadrian Farrow, Andrew Goucher, David Pistorius, Josh Paul, Rod Diaz. There's a lot of amazing bassists. Wizard from Mother's Finest, Norwood from Fishbone, Peanut from 311. I'm sure I'm missing Cody Wright. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of people, but there's a hell of a lot of great bassists in the camp, which scares the hell out of me because I don't want to play after hearing all the stuff that they play. You know, it's like, oh, well, I guess there's no need for me anymore. Let me just go ahead and sell all my bases.
Which leads me to my next question. You are a phenomenal bassist, so why are you outsourcing all of this material?
Well, there's a couple different reasons. One, I can produce the music more objectively if I'm not playing on it. If I'm listening and I'm sitting and being hypercritical of my own playing, I'm not looking at the overall picture. Two, there's players that are far better than I am that serve the song better than I would. So I don't mind stepping out of the way and letting somebody else come into the mix and do some, you know, do their thing, because it's really getting a chance to use different colors that otherwise wouldn't be available, and it keeps it interesting for me. I don't find myself to be a particularly great writer when it comes to just sitting down and composing a piece of music. So if I have that part kind of not to worry about, it definitely makes the process happen a lot faster, and it gives a lot more people a chance to be part of it. Because at the end of the day, the Big Old Nasty Getdown was never intended to be about me. It was the sum of all of the parts, and so there's certainly no need for me to be on all the tracks. I'm the poor bastard that has to learn all the crazy stuff that they've put down on their recordings when we go live. So I don't get away like scot-free. I still have to learn the stuff at some point and then go out and try to figure out. Oh, so another great bassist that I've done some work with is Mohini. And I listened to the track that she sent back, and I was just like, well, no chance that we're ever going to be playing this. No chance we're ever going to be playing this thing live. Not unless she's there doing it, because you know, they just come from a different discipline. And,
well, let's talk a little bit about Mohini Day. Okay, for people at home that are listening that may not know who Mohini Day is, how would you describe her work ethic and her sound?
Her work ethic is nonstop. I mean, it's pristine. She has the ability to float across so many genres and do so proficiently. Being raised in India, she has a lot of different rhythmic approaches that are really, really cool to work with. But then she can move straight to like shredding with Steve Vai, and it's, you know, it's really cool to be able to just see how diverse her palette is when it comes to her compositions and her playing. I remember, so Steve Vai does a thing called what's it called? The Bad Mama Jamma, and it's a 72-hour nonstop jam with a whole bunch of who's who getting in and sitting in and whatnot. And I, for the most part, was sitting in the backstage area, not really listening to too much of the music, just kind of chatting with a bunch of my bros and whatnot. And all of a sudden I heard this incredible bass coming from inside. And I was like, whoa, what? I mean, these are some of the nastiest grooves I've ever heard. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I went in there, and there was Mohini just absolutely killing it, like killing it. So I reached out to her a year and a half ago, and we wound up doing a track. It's still not out. I've been having a hard time getting the music released. Like I've got at this point probably 200 tracks that are unreleased from everybody under the sun. But
Okay,
I
John, you are a collector of all things, including
exactly. So I'm on a mission this year to get a lot of these tracks out, and the Mohini track is a really, really cool one. Her and her husband both are playing on it. Mark, her husband's a sax player, so it's a really cool piece. And Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers is on drums for it, so it's it's badass, but it is complex, what they're doing. But funny story with that is I wanted to get some guitar put on it, and I sent the track to this incredible guitarist, Alex Sill, and I didn't really give him a lot of direction on it. And I thought to myself, God, that would be so cruel if I asked somebody to like learn this shit note for note and have to track that. I had expected him to just kind of put some of his own parts on there, which he did, but he learned it note for note, like note for note. And I was just floored. And I said to him, I'm like, man, that's amazing you did that. We were kind of joking like how cruel it would be to like ask somebody to learn this shit note for note. But it's now a ripping track with everybody on it. So we're excited to get that one out.
So I wanna know, what is the biggest hurdle for you when it comes to releasing one of your tracks? I mean, you have so many awesome musicians, so much amazing music, but you can't seem to like get it released. Is it because you have so many to pick from? Also, I hear sirens. John, are you okay over there?
I am. I think so. At least we'll know in 5 minutes. We're getting closer though. I think it comes from not wanting to let the musicians down that are on the tracks, and feeling like so for the most part, the project, even though it's as big as it is, it's kind of me running all the different branches of it. And there's just stuff that I can't get to and that I'm not good at. And one of those things is getting the music out there and feeling like it's getting its maximum exposure and reaching its maximum potential, because all these players have, one, trusted me with their name. They've trusted me as a producer and building a song that we all hope to be proud of. And I just have this fear that when I release something, it's just going to go into the universe. Nobody's going to give a shit. And then I'm going to be like, sorry guys, I tried. But, and that's just being honest. It's a lot of pressure. And I really prefer the creative aspect of it. I don't like the business side of it, as I'm sure many people don't like. And that's,
so fear is your number one obstacle right now, right here.
Fear and anxiety of what happens is, the minute you release it, it now becomes business. The creative aspect is now done, and it's now, you got to recoup, or you got to get the music as far out there as you can. And I can't keep up these days with the social media platforms and what's the hot spot to drop something and this and that. So it becomes really overwhelming just figuring out where to even begin. So and not being a touring band makes it incredibly more difficult to get the word out there because we don't have those shows night after night kind of spreading the word and bringing in a new fan base. So I've had to rely very heavily on social media and also working with some of the players in the project to help spread the word that the project even exists. Fortunately, we've done well with getting the word out there, but what happens is also being that it's an independently funded project, when you're competing with multi-million-dollar corporations that are just putting their artists into a machine and putting them out there with, you know, advertising spaces everywhere and all of the different areas covered, it becomes a quick financial drain to keep that momentum and keep in the spotlight. So decisions have to be made about, well, do I roll the dice and put it all into my publicist, then put it all into a bunch of different advertising platforms that may or may not be visible. It just becomes such a daunting, overwhelming thing. So that's I guess that's part of where the issue lies with that. And this year I'm starting to try to build a team that has experts in all those areas, so it really can get out there and get the maximum exposure and give these artists the credit that they deserve for their hard work that they put into the songs.
Do you or would you sign to a label?
Yeah, I think so. I was very much against labels for many years, and I even turned down a massive offer back in the day, in the very beginning, because they wanted to take creative control and move the project, which had really just kind of gotten started, into a direction that wasn't the dreams that we had for it at the time. Now, and then, you know, one of the things that is most important for a lot of musicians to know is to own your masters. It's absolutely critical to own your masters. And when you sign to a label, a lot of times you're signing over at least a good portion of the master, if not all of it. And that long term, especially if something has a lot of success, can be, you know, pretty impactful on making it or breaking it for somebody. If all of a sudden the label is getting all the cash that the artist needs to be able to fund a tour or to go back into the studio or whatever, it becomes difficult. And especially with advances being smaller and smaller, it's a really difficult thing. Now, the part of me that's changed attitude-wise about bringing a label in is you're sacrificing some of that for the personnel behind the album. You're paying for those people that are, in essence, buying you time. You're buying time by sacrificing the portion of whatever it's going to take to be with a master. And time's valuable. If they have somebody that has, you know, if you've got a label that's got a strong PR team, a strong social media team, a strong music licensing division, you've got all these people that are working in tandem to make it happen, versus that one person who's spending 18 hours a day losing most of their life trying to do all of those things, and usually only a mediocre job because it's hard to be an expert at everything. So I find that now it's appealing to maybe look at a label just so I can buy myself time to do the stuff that I find more fun, and also have the proper people that know the best methods for releases, because it's a lot of work. It's so much work to release an album, as many people know. So it's helpful to have that team in place.
Don't mind me. I'm just dropping things over here. Okay, guys. All right. Hold on. Let me grab my phone. All right, cool. I've always just wondered, and I ask a lot of people when they come on the show, label versus no label. What are the pros? What are the cons? And then working with such like high up musicians, I get where you wouldn't want to like sign to a label, where you would want to like do it all yourself. And congratulations for taking on such a huge project of such massive scale and like not having a mental breakdown every other week. You may, but you keep it together as far as I'm concerned. So
it's every week, not every other week.
Oh, there we go. I'm the one having mental breakdowns every week. Okay, good to know.
No. I'm having the mental breakdowns every week, not every other.
You guys, we are hanging out with John Heintz at the big old nasty Getdown here on the Sunshine Show. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for the one and only John Heintz, bassist, bass collector, music collector, all the above, make sure to drop them there in the comments section. All right, John, everybody wants to know why the bass guitar.
Well, it's actually a really, really funny, slightly obnoxious story. So I was playing, I played acoustic guitar in elementary school. And one day, one of my classmates, I had overheard that he was going to get a bass. And I was like, oh, he's not going to get a bass before I get a bass. And
oh, this is adorable. This is an adorable story, John.
And so I asked, I think I was probably like 9 or 10. And so I asked my parents if we could go look at basses, and they got me a little Memphis P bass, and I was the first kid to have the bass, and been playing it on and off ever since. But really, like, I played until I was 16 or 17 and then stopped and went into business, and that was kind of my focus. So I started playing again when I came into the industry, which is really bizarre. I was doing more collecting, but yeah. So there was like a 14-year gap really of playing before it all kind of became a thing.
I have just hit my 3-year anniversary of not playing any stage shows. It has been 3 years since February 14th of 2020. And let me tell you, this year is my year, John, and I will be back on the stage.
I can't wait. I would love to see you play. Like, I've seen footage, and it looks like you are having the time of your life up there. So much fun to watch you.
I am so excited and so stoked. Do you have a favorite stage story that you can share with us?
Wow, let me think about that. There's been a couple like really wacky moments. So I was playing bass in a band called Trulio Disgracious.
Oh, I like that.
And it's Norwood Fisher from Fishbone's side project, and it's got a revolving cast similar to the Getdown, but it's definitely more punk and more ska than Getdown, which is more, I don't know, funk jazz style. So with the Trulio shows, you literally never knew who was going to show up, and we had one night where there was a miscommunication and nobody brought a drum set. We had 5 guitar players, a drummer with no drum set, some singers, and a bunch of horns. And we're all just like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Well, it turned out somebody had a marching band bass drum in their car. And so next thing you know, we're taking the stage with a marching band bass drum as the drum for the night until the kit got there. So
that's perfect.
That was an interesting one. There's another night with them where we'd have like 9 or 10 guitar players show up, and everybody's like trying to figure out where on stage they're gonna fit. Like, that's pretty much all I know is big bands between P-Funk and Getdown and Trulio. It's just these gigantic, like little mini cities taking stage.
All right, so my beautiful, beautiful secretary says just add sousaphone. So you actually announced yesterday that you are working with a phenomenal tuba player.
Yes, Tuba Joe.
Tuba Joe.
Tuba Joe. Joe Exley. He's out of New York City, and I love Joe's work. He's so his sister Karen played bass in Nashville Pussy for a number of years, and I was introduced to Joe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago by Karen. We had always talked about trying to do something, and finally this week we were able to put something together. So he's working on a track right now, and it's actually the first time we've got a sousaphone or a tuba in the mix, which is interesting because we've worked a lot with a lot of the New Orleans brass bands, and for some reason tuba has never been in that lineup. It's always,
John.
yeah, it's always been
you.
saxes, trumpets, and trombones. So this will be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Everybody on the Sunshine Show, all of my previous listeners and viewers, maybe we have some new ones here tonight. You guys, I love the tuba, the sousaphone. That's what I started playing way back when, and that brought me to today and being here with you guys. And so I always have a deep love in my heart for the sousaphone and the tuba. Let's check out this chat really quick. We got Albie all the way from LA. What's up, Albie? Thanks for hanging out with us. We got Mike Torn. We got Forsyth Imaging all the way from Arizona in the house. If you guys are not already following Forsyth Imaging, make sure to do that today. You guys, thank you all for hanging out. Shauna O'Donnell in the house. What's up? J Murph, Murph. You guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the love. You guys could be anywhere in the world and you're here hanging out with us, and it means the absolute world. All right, John, one question I ask all of my guests. If you could throw a dinner party for any 5 musicians, dead or alive, who would those 5 musicians be, and what would you serve at your dinner party?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I would say, John Entwistle.
Okay.
He'd definitely be an interesting one. You, of course.
Oh, I love being invited to the party.
Right. Who else would be there? Neil Peart. And how many more seats do we have to fill?
You got 2 left, buddy.
Oh, we got 2 seats to fill. Jeez, who would it be? There's so many. I mean, Miles Davis would be great. And Charlie Parker.
Oh my God, we are having a full-on jazz party at this show.
I think there'd probably be a pretty heavy detox after that dinner party if Charlie and Miles and all of them were there.
And what are you serving, sir, at your dinner party?
Oh, I don't know. Junk food.
Junk food, of course. John Heintz wants some Oreo cookies.
Yeah, junk food.
What about Ethiopian food? How do you feel about Ethiopian food, Mr. Heintz?
I save that for when you're here. Like, that's the only.
And then I end up eating your leftovers because I feel like you don't like it.
I do, though. I love Ethiopian food. I think we just had bad luck with the. Wait, we had a couple. The one was good. The other was maybe not as good.
It's true. It's true. Every time I go to John's house, we order Ethiopian food. You guys, it's a good time. If you're ever in the area, hit up John. He has great art, great basses, and plenty of Ethiopian foods around his house. All right, John, I want to talk a little bit about this Rickenbacker bass guitar that you have that was previously owned by Geddy Lee. How did you come in contact with this particular bass? How did you know you were going to have this as your own?
Well, so I came across the bass a while back. What's the best way to answer this? So I was on a mission to find a Rickenbacker, and I just came across this one right here.
Okay, Wait. Okay, I feel like you've jumped. Oh my god, I'm like everything's falling right now.
Well,
I feel like you missed some steps there. So you were looking for a Rickenbacker and you came across the Geddy Lee Rickenbacker, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and purchase the Wham Bam, thank you, ma'am, Rickenbacker of all Rickenbackers.
Well, I mean, I'm editing the story a little bit. I mean, do you want me to tell?
No. Go ahead. So show us your base.
So I own this with my buddy Steve Schuff. Steve and I do some stuff with the Big Old Nasty Getdown, and we'll occasionally go in on some instruments together. This is a 66 Rickenbacker 4005. It is in Geddy's Big Old Beautiful Book of Bass, or Big Beautiful Book of Bass. Yeah, so I was trying to impress a girl who plays Rickenbackers, and there we go. So anyway, I was not necessarily looking for Geddy's Rickenbacker. I was looking for a 4001 or a 4005, or sorry, 4000 or 4001. And so I just did a search, and this one came up. It was at Southside Guitars, and I contacted them, and then I contacted Geddy to verify that it was in fact his bass and the one from the book. And he got back to me right away. He's like, yeah, it's a great bass. And so yeah, wound up buying it. And when it got here, I was pleasantly surprised of the acoustic qualities it has. It really, sorry, I'm playing at a very awkward angle, but just kind of giving you an idea of that. And so yeah, that's how that one came about. There's some crazy owned basses in the collection that have some good history.
I mean, do you have bases from other celebrities, Mr. John Heintz?
Yeah, I got a bunch. Here's one right here. This one, I knew we were gonna be talking about basses, so I pulled out a few. So this is a Jackson concert bass. David Ellefson from Megadeth used this on the Peace Sells But Who's Buying tour. This replaced his bass that he broke early on in the tour. He wound up getting this from, they had to do like an emergency overnight shipment to Dave for a replacement bass for the rest of the tour. And this one showed up, and apparently it was a really hideous crackle, like a crackle yellow. And he just stickered the shit out of it because he didn't like it, and then eventually had it painted gunmetal gray to go with his traditional gunmetal gray basses that he does. But you can still see some of the white chips and whatnot, and they've signed it and all. So that one's pretty cool. Let's see.
We have a comment here by J Murph. He says, "Holy F, that's dope."
Thanks.
This episode of the Sunshine Show has been brought to you tonight by Bass Players United. We love BPU and the BPU community. Thank you so much for supporting the Sunshine Show.
Go
ahead, John.
Oh, sorry. I just had a moment of like, whoa. Here we are.
Wait, drink that Ensure. Drink that Ensure, John. Yeah, totally. That'll give you some energy.
Exactly. Got to take my old man supplements. This is another one that's that was owned by a famous bassist. This is a Warwick Infinity that was owned by Charlie Hayden, super famous jazz bassist. He was more known for upright, but he really changed the face of bass playing in a lot of ways. And what else? Are we bored talking about the basses? Or?
I mean, do we ever get bored talking about basses here on the Sunshine Show? Because I know I don't. Everybody at home, I'm pretty sure that's what we're all here for.
This one right here, this is a 1962 Fender jazz bass in perfect condition. I mean, not perfect, but it's in like for its year, it's probably in a 9 out of 10 condition.
Yeah, it looks pretty perfect to me, John.
100% original. I got this one last year. This is one of the prizes in the collection. What else?
I mean, what do you do with all these bases? Do you like go to sleep with said bases? Do you like wake up with the bases? Do you play with the bases all day long?
Well, let me talk about the bases and the reasoning behind a lot of it. So I look at bases in a lot of ways the same way people look at the stock market. I look at different futures of what I think is going to go up in value quite a bit based upon market performance over the last couple of years. So when I'm looking at things like Fenders, Gibsons, Martins, sometimes Gretsch for that matter, I consider those kind of like the blue chip equivalents of blue chip stocks. If you buy them right and you get limited edition or vintage stuff in great condition, they're almost always going to go up in value. You take a base like a Wall base back a couple of years, and that would be a very speculative base. Back in the day, you could get those for $2,000-$3,000. These days, you can't touch them for under $9,000 to $12,000. So basically, it works as an investment portfolio to some degree that I can play, but also that works as a write-off too, because I'm in the industry and this is what I do for a living. And so then there's the collector part of me that really loves bases and loves to support small base builders that have unbelievable talent and just love the whole history of it. It's a crazy obsession, but it really gives me a lot of joy. It's really bizarre, and I think I'm probably acting out some kind of weird childhood thing that wanted all these bases when I was a kid and couldn't have them, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I remember I wanted that one or that one, and wind up making more base deals than I probably should. But
well, I mean, it seems like sound, not advice. It seems like a sound reason behind the collecting. I want to know. I wanted to say that before we actually met each other, I interviewed you probably about a year and a half ago. Was the first time that you came on the show, and for some reason, didn't even really know about base collecting. I mean, I know people, they collect cars and people collect art, but I never really knew that people collected bass guitars, right? And so the number one, Geddy Lee, he has the hugest collection of bass guitars. Would you say that he's like the biggest bass guitar collector that you could think of, or do you know of others?
I know of others that definitely have in the 300 to 500 range of instruments. There's a really cool group that I'm part of, and you're part of on Facebook called Bass Up Front. And there's some folks. David Sutkin runs that group, and he's got a hell of a collection too. There's some folks in that group that I've seen that really put it in perspective of how many people are out there that do have pretty significant collections. I thought I would. It actually makes me feel a little less crazy when I see other people that have like 50 cases lined up against their wall, or they've got 2 basses coming in every other week and this and that. So, but I think anything that people are passionate about can be collectible for sure. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there, and in the bass world, I mean, there's always something cool coming up. Always some badass something.
Which leads us to our next question from Daniel Bayanez. What's up, Daniel? Thanks for being a longtime supporter of the Sunshine Show. He says, is there a hot bass that you're looking for lately and haven't found yet?
And by hot, I'm assuming you mean a stolen bass that I'm looking for? No, I'm just kidding. Right now, the unicorn for me is a Brooklyn era white Spectre NS2. I've got a ton of Brooklyn era and Kramer era NS2s. Those are some of my favorites. But that's one that's on the list. I'm looking for a 59 P bass with the and the white finish, which is incredibly rare. White with the gold guard. What else? A wall bass at some point. But that's really. I mean, I've gotten a lot of the stuff that's on the list, and there's always something new that I don't even know about that shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, I think I need that.
Let's see. My beautiful secretary Dawn says, "Let's see, John. You've said you have 2 coming tonight and 2 coming tomorrow."
Yeah, the ones coming tonight I can't discuss too much just yet because there's some stuff that still needs to be finalized with that. But these 2 basses were owned by an extraordinarily well-known bassist that's selling a couple of his pieces. So we've got a phone call just after this interview to discuss some of the logistics with it. And then there's 2 Stratis that are coming tomorrow, which I'm super stoked about too. And then I gotta show one more bass because.
What's up, Janet Easton, my bestie? Watch him all the way from Gilroy, California.
So here, this is a Cortex. These are French-built bass. My buddy Pierre owns the company, and these are some of the nicest basses I've played in as long as I can remember. And there's 2 of these coming next week, so it's
wow.
it's a bit nutty.
All right, we got owner of Bass Players United in the chat, Adam Phillips. Thank you so much for your kindness and your support of the Sunshine Show. Adam says that 59P bass would be sweet.
It sure would be. Hey, Adam, how's it going, man?
All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. You guys, if you have any last minute questions, comments, suggestions, drop them there in the comment section. All right, John, what kind of legacy are you trying to leave behind with your music?
I want to leave as a legacy just something that people can continue to build off of. Like the Getdown, I want that to last well beyond my time, because it is a faceless thing. I want to be able to have that be a creative outlet for generations of musicians to come, to be able to learn from one another, to be able to share resources, to be able to continue just to create without having really any boundaries with that, having the ability to just make music for the world to enjoy. That's my hopes, and hopefully that I've done something to impact somebody while I've been here. You know, that's the hope.
Very nice. All right, we had a question from Mr. Keith Grime. What's up, Keith? Love this guy so much. He wants to know what's up with the signature basses. I know we already went over this at the very beginning of the show, but let's show him one more time for everybody that's just joining us, and explain it with a little bit more detail for the people listening at home that do not have a visual cue. John.
All right. Hey, Keith. By the way, Keith's awesome. These are the signature basses. Here's 2 of the 3 that I've got here. These are built by Tony Walters of Montebasso. They're 5-string semi-hollows. The sound chambers have LEDs in them that light up. This one is 3 colors. And this one is purple. Hang on, let me move these around. This is a burl maple top, walnut back with purple heart and wingay neck laminates. This one is a flamed walnut with maple and walnut stringers and walnut back and ebony fretboard. And then the other one's in the case, tucked away, but these are the 2 that are currently here, and we're building 2 more to finish out the line. We're going to have a 6-string model and a 4-string model.
And so if somebody's interested in buying one of these basses, are they available to the public, or is it just custom?
No, they are. It's something that Tony can build these on custom order for anybody, or we hope to have a couple stock basses available here soon as well. There are, I think, 3 others that I don't have that different people around the country have now. So it's nice seeing these get out there.
How does it feel to have your own signature bass?
It's kind of mind blowing. It's really an honor, especially to be able to work with somebody as cool as Tony, and somebody that's open to the collaborative effort with some of the designing process, and letting me participate and sticking my 2 cents into things. So we have a lot of fun with it.
Very, very nice. All right, John. So at the beginning of the show, you told us all that you kind of got into the industry a little bit late at the age of 30. Maybe that's late for some people. I say we're just getting started, baby.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest piece of advice for somebody that's wanting to get into the industry that maybe feels like they're a little too old to get started? What do you have to say to those people that want to follow their dreams, but maybe are having a little bit of kickback from their brain?
I mean, it's available. It's out there for somebody to be able to accomplish. If I can come in at 30, there's certainly no reason that anybody can't come in at 30. A few of the things that I've found to be incredibly important beyond the ability to play, it has been my little Butters just came walking by. Do you hear her cry?
Love Butters. Butters is the cat, everybody.
Stamina is key. Perseverance. There's so many false promises and so many things that will be told to somebody throughout their career that can be so disheartening and frustrating, and it gets to feel like at a certain point it's nothing but bullshit, and that the time will never come to really get your chance. But sticking with it and not succumbing to the heartbreaks that come along with it, and just realizing that it's part of the game is critical. Being with a group of musicians that are a cool hang is important, because you've got hey Butters.
She had to make the debut appearance on the Sunshine Show.
She did. She's chilling. Hey, hey B, what you doing?
That was like perfect.
Yeah, this is my manager, Butters.
Tell her ass to get to work.
Yeah, exactly. We got some merch to show.
She went to go grab it.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Some of the other things, is, again, like, try to hang on to your masters, because there's going to be a lot of difficulty in monetizing, and when you have to start splitting your sales of your albums up a million ways, all of a sudden it becomes pennies. So if you as a band can hang on to your masters, great. And just having a good team in place. I mean, that's the part that I still struggle with, is finding I've got a team of people that I work with that are phenomenal, but we need to expand to different areas now that are going to need attention that we aren't necessarily set up for yet. So, and then merch is going to be key. It's absolutely critical for survival. And if you can go vinyl, that's always the way to go, because it's got a good profit margin, and there's a whole collector's base that are excited just to see somebody took the time to press their music on the vinyl. So you get a lot of traction with that. But it also is one of those things that it doesn't happen for free. We spend a fortune on advertising with Facebook every year. It definitely covers sales, cover that, but if you don't put the money into getting the word out there, it's gonna not have the results that somebody might hope.
Advertising is a big part of it. So
Yeah.
I started an Etsy store a while back. And John, I feel like you were my very first customer. You purchased like a couple of hats that said base
Yep.
on them. And since then, my store has grown substantially. I think I've just made like my 1300th sell. And you're right. Advertising is a huge part of the game. Getting the word out there, letting people know that are outside of your circle that this product actually exists.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations. That's amazing. I'm so happy that you've had a
Thank
lot
you.
of traffic. It's you've got some really cool products up there. I remember when you were starting to develop some of those different shirt designs and whatnot, and we just be middle of the night bouncing the ideas back. We're like, name 3 bass players.
Yeah. Yes, you definitely helped me like in the construction of the store. I remember like showing you my prototype and I'm like, bro, what do you think about this selection of products? And you're like, just throw it up, just go live with it. And I did. And since then I've learned so much. And I think that's so important to stress, you guys, is just get started. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter anything besides that you believe in yourself and you get started. And from there, you just learn and you grow every day.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We got a comment here, a question from Gary Martin. Thank you, Gary, for hanging out with us. He says, I just picked up a 5-string after playing 4-string for 4 years. Any tips or tricks that a 4-string player should keep in mind when adding another string? First of all, it's all brain play and brain manipulation, right?
It is. And I totally understand that that transition difficulty at times. Because I remember when I got my first 5-string, it was finding when the right time to use that low B was going to be, and then just navigating around the idea that there was another string there, and letting the brain reacclimate to the fact that that's not an E, that's a B, and you got to go up one to get to that 4-string. So it's I mean, just practice running up and down the one string to the next, and just getting used to that 5th being there, so the brain can wrap around it.
Yeah, and just remembering as well that muscle memory comes in play a lot, right? Especially when you're playing an instrument that you're used to playing that's a 4-string. But when you're transitioning to a different instrument, you got to kind of turn the muscle memory back a little bit and kind of turn up the brain functioning to like figure out how everything goes together. And I promise you, it's not that hard. It's more of like a mind manipulation more than anything else. So Gary, you got this. All right. All right, Mr. John Heintz, we're going to start wrapping this up. We've been going long and strong for over an hour. Our very first interview, it's available streaming on all streaming platforms on The Sunshine Show. And our first interview went almost 2 hours strong, which was absolutely insane. And if you guys want to know everything that you want to know about the Big Ol' Nasty Getdown, go over to The Sunshine Show and go scroll down a couple of hundred episodes and you will find John Heintz of the Big Ol' Nasty Getdown. Once again, I want to thank Bass Players United for always coming through and supporting The Sunshine Show, Sunshine and the Bass Kids, and Rocksteady Collective. If you guys are not already members of the Green Room, Big Ol' Nasty Getdown, make sure to go and do that today. John, how can we stream and support you? Stream your music and support you?
We're on Spotify and SoundCloud, and then on pretty much all the digital platforms. And then we've got a bunch of new music that's going to be coming out here soon, so be on the lookout for that. And you can always follow us at Big Ol' Nasty Getdown on Instagram. My Insta is at Getdown Music. Those are the best ways to follow what's going on and be part of it.
Awesome. So when are you releasing that Mohini Day times Chili Peppers track?
Well, that's okay. So Are we going to go a little bit longer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So a while back, I had this idea for this concept album, which is basically taking the same identical drum track and building up multiple songs off of the same foundation. I took a drum track from a session I did with Jack Irons, the original drummer from the Chili Peppers, and passed it around to my favorite 12 bassists and let them make the first move on it. And they all sent back what they put down, and each one came back like so different from one another. It was hard to even tell that the BPM was the same a lot of times on the drums. And so I built up each of the tunes as their own tune, and we're putting out an EP that's just about finished with the Jack drums. Now, there's another EP that's been done on some drums I did with Chad that the Mohini track is part of. And so that track is Corey Glover from Living Color is going to be on that EP as well, with Mohini's track. Bubby Hadrian, yeah, there's a bunch of great bassists that's on that. So that will be coming out right after the Jack EP. I'm going to go right into finishing up mixing that and getting that knocked out.
So it sounds like you're almost doing, like, in a lot of reggae music, there are these progressions called rhythms, right? Where they they lay down a bass track and then it's recycled over and over, but yet with different lyrics, different vocals, different everything. And it kind of sounds like this is the role that you're kind of like taking on, and it sounds kind of fabulous and amazing. Like, when are you releasing this, John?
So this will be out. I am just waiting on 2 vocals to be tracked at this point. I talked to Angelo for Fishbone this morning, who is starting on one of the songs, and then Ron Cat Spearman from P-Funk is just adding a couple sections to the other song, and then we should have the whole EP mixed by the end of next week, and then off to mastering. So it's right around the corner for that one.
Nice.
I'm stoked about that to get that out. But yeah, it's similar in a way to the reggae theory. With I look at the drum track as a blank canvas. When you've got the blank canvas, you can really put anything on it, and it can go in any million different ways. So it was really also, it showed just how far creativity can go off of a single structure. So I'm excited to get that out and see, because I sent it to Jack, and he's like, damn, man, I even had a hard time telling that was the same drums at times, and he's the drummer on it. So it's pretty wild, because see, what happens is when you have a drum track and you have other musicians that are tracking on top of it, it's masking different elements of the beat. So it's going to bring out an essence of a drum track different each time, because you may have a key part hitting this fill or that you might not hear in one song, but it's going to be right out there in your face in the other, because there's no other instruments occupying that little space. So each one that's being built up has different elements of that drum track that shines through. So it really is hard to tell that it's literally the same drum track, same length, same changes, same BPM, same shit.
So will you be putting all the songs on like one vinyl, or how will you be releasing it?
We'll do a couple EPs. Okay. So there's 12 or 13 on the Jack track, and that will get divided into 2 different EPs that will press the vinyl. And we'll do the same with the Chad drums. And I'm also working on one with Kenny Aronoff that we're building up, and Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction. So I'm kind of doing a series of these different like single drum builds, making the different songs off of that one foundation, while also finishing up stuff with the actual stuff I'm supposed to be working on, like the Big Ol' Nasty Getdown Volume 3 album, which I've been promising everybody.
You guys
Yeah.
can get Volume 1 and Volume 2 in the Big Ol' Nasty Getdown shop. Make sure to go and support John. He's doing a lot of work just to bring you all of the music and musicians that mean a lot to him and putting a lot on the plate here. And the least you can do is go support the man, go throw down a little bit of this and that, or just go follow the Instagram, go follow the Facebook, go follow the YouTube, go do all the things. Am I right or am I right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the move. Yeah. Any kind of support's always welcomed, and I'm always grateful for anybody that takes the time to listen to our music. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing at times when I do find out that people have heard the project and heard the jams. So it's always nice.
There's some good jams. All right, last questions on the night comes from Daniel Bayanez. Who are your top 3 drummers?
Dennis Chambers, Alvin Ford Jr., and let me think.
You got a nice profile pic there, Mr. Heintz.
Oh, thanks. That's the in deep thought. I mean, Neil Peart probably would be the third.
All right, very nice, very nice. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I don't know. Is there anything you want to talk about?
I mean, I don't know. What shall we talk about? I feel like we've gone over your history. We've gone over your bass collection. We've gone over the Big Ol' Nasty Getdown. We've gone over your art collection. We've been introduced to your manager, Butters the Cat. And we've seen your own signature bass designed by Tony Walters of Monobasso Basses.
Yeah, we've covered some ground for sure.
All right. Well, I can't wait to have you back on the show, John.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Your next album or your next track or whenever you're ready to come back on. All right, guys, we're getting out of here. I'm fully booked this week. I'm not really sure the schedule because Jonathan doesn't ever let me know anything until day of. So you guys, it's a surprise. Like I see him down there looking at me. He's like giving me the look down in the basement. He's like, no, I already gave you the schedule. Look, we have an all-star stellar lineup this week, you guys. So come back for more tomorrow through Sunday. We got Scott Weiss of Underground Roots in the house tomorrow. All right, John, you ready to get out of here? I think you are. Let me wrap it up. Everybody at home, make sure to be kind to the people around you. You never know the battles that everybody's facing. Try to keep a smile on your face and be safe out there. It's a dangerous world. On 3, John, we're going to say bye. You ready?
All right.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.